help me understand myself better, or at least help me understand your perspective of me. I recently made a video talking about what I eat for lunch as a vegan. And in that, I was explaining how historically vegans were predictably female, far left liberals. And now that 6% of America is vegans, now guys like me get thrown in the mix that aren't those things. And so I specifically said I'm not Democrat, I'm not liberal. I said that. But you've watched my other videos before, right? You know my perspectives on things. So I want to ask you your perspective. Do I seem like I am a conservative politically or a liberal politically? Am I conservative? Am I liberal? Which one do you think that I am? In case you're not familiar with my somewhat offbeat perspective on American politics, this is how I feel about it. I feel that America, we are trying to police the world. We have over 700 military bases across the world. We are establishing our dominance as the main political military system, and we're always at war with somebody. Always, you know? Every couple of decades it may change, but for right now, we're led to believe that if you're Middle Eastern and you're Muslim, then you're part of the problem. When in reality, it's only one faction of that, and chances are we might have had something to do that by supplying the rebels back when someone else was the enemy and we had a different enemy. So you can already see, when it comes to politics, I have little faith in political things. I'm not a political guy. I equally distance myself from the brand Republican and Democrat. I don't want anything to do with either of those being part of my identity. But you can see, just in what I told you about my perspective on the military, you know, I would be more like Jack Johnson, right? And Jack Johnson, he has that song talking about we went beyond where we should have gone. And that song's been out for a long time, and we're still seeing it happen today. Okay, so you look at my perspective on war and politics on that side, the political agenda of war, and this concept that we're defending America, but are we? Because it seems like we're kind of like going way across the other side of the world, and that's how we're fighting for our freedom. And so I'm like, are we? Okay, so I'm probably by now sounding pretty liberal, right? Like I need to like get on my tinfoil hat and like conspiracy man, right? But see, I could probably equally sound just as conservative as well. For example, when it comes to things like abortion. Now, I'm 100% morally opposed to it, but at the same time, when it comes to our government, I understand that it's already in place. That's not ever going to change, and if it did, the other side would flip it back. So morally, I'm definitely opposed to abortion, and liberals typically wouldn't say that. They're going to talk all about women's rights and all this stuff, and I'm not. I'm thinking, no, for me personally, the life of a fetus is a human life, which is equal to all human life. Human life is human life. So as you hear that, you can say, well, that's not something a liberal Democrat would say. That's the opposite of what they say. Okay, what about gay rights? You know, I understand that gay marriage is legal now here in America, but I didn't care about it either way. I just was neutral on it. I'm like, you know, as far as the government is concerned, why should I let them define what marriage is? Marriage, to me personally, it's a personal and religious thing. So why let the government define what marriage is? I mean, I'm married according to my own perception of what marriage is, but why in the world would I let the government decide that for me and care about that? When I got married in a church, and I've been married for 9 years. That's it. I don't care what the government says about me being married. So I feel that that's the government getting involved in something that's personal and religious. So see, you can tell from different angles, I equally distance myself from both sides. There's parts of it that I can agree with and parts that I can't. Maybe the easiest way to say it is that I am socially liberal, basically let people do what they want to do as long as they're not hurting somebody else. But when it comes to other values, I'm very conservative, like abortion. And I don't even know where to place this, but when it comes to war, I'm like, think of how many millions of dollars we're spending on staying at war with the Middle East, being led to believe that they're the enemy and that they're the problem, and now we should distrust them. Like all this agenda, I'm like, but then, so yeah, financially, I'm all about like, how can we save money in this country, you know? And then there's the part that I'm a vegan, you know? Most people who are vegan are not going to be able to identify anything that a liberal would say. So I think that ultimately, I'm a mix of both. There's parts of it I definitely embrace on both sides, and there's the other parts I definitely completely denounce. What do you think about this? I think if nothing else, I represent what is not the mainstream in America when it comes to politics. I distrust politicians. I think it takes a certain kind of person to become a politician. I think it takes a certain kind of person to become an actor, which is why we see all these sexual harassment and assault charges going on now. Oh, it's been happening all along. Because I think certain people end up in certain places of power because of things like that. I don't trust politicians. Maybe it's just that I am the epitome of a millennial in America who just doesn't want a part of that system, and I want to pick and choose the parts of it that make the most sense to me. So you vote on this. Speaking of voting, vote. Am I liberal? Am I conservative? Am I both? You decide in the comments.